Once upon a time, in an ancient land full of wonder, there existed a magnificent and prosperous kingdom called Amritlock. The skies were always blue, the people were joyous, and ruling them with wisdom and fairness was the noble King Cameron. But this is not his story. This is the story of his daughter, Princess Suraiya. Unlike other princesses, Suraiya wasn't known for dazzling beauty or royal elegance. No, she was different, very different. Suraiya had a heavy body. From birth, she was obese. And though people whispered and gossiped about how such a girl could be born into royalty, her parents, King Cameron and Queen Mobashira, loved her more than anything in the world. What the world didn't know was that Suraiya's weight was not ordinary. It was the result of a mysterious curse. No one knew why, or who had cursed her. All they knew was that her life wasn't easy. People mocked her. Some even called her cursed. But what no one could see was the extraordinary magical power hidden inside her. A gift no one else had. Suraiya could breathe life into lifeless things. A broken object. One touch from her, and it was restored. A dry tree. Her fingers would turn it green again. Yet, no one noticed, or cared. She grew tired, weary of the palace whispers and silent judgment. So she spent hours in the palace garden, alone, thinking, dreaming, hurting. One day, as she sat under a tree, lost in thought, a mysterious old woman appeared. Her eyes sparkled with secrets. Her voice, soft like a whisper. "Do you know why you were born this way, child?" Suraiya's heart skipped a beat. She had asked herself that question 1,000 times, and never found the answer. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "How do you know me?" The woman smiled. "Come with me. I'll show you the truth. Who you really are, and why you are the way you are." Something deep inside Suraiya trusted her. She stood up slowly. "Where are we going?" The woman pointed beyond the palace walls, to a thick, ancient forest. "To the place where your real story begins." This forest, it was forbidden. Her father had always warned her never to go there. But her feet moved on their own. Deeper, and deeper, until she stood before a strange, glowing cave. Symbols glimmered on the door like stars. "Is this the place?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The woman nodded solemnly. "This is where the greatest secret of your life hides. The place of your true birth. Not in this world, but the world beyond, the fairy realm." Suraiya froze. "The what?" "You were never meant to be human," the woman said. "You were meant to become the queen of the fairies. But a terrible curse changed your destiny." A chill ran down Suraiya's spine. "What kind of curse?" "To find out," the woman said, "you must go inside, and look into the magic mirror." Suraiya hesitated. Then, gathering her courage, stepped into the dark cave. As soon as the woman raised her hand, the cave lit up with a golden glow. In the center stood a mirror, but not an ordinary one. It shimmered with blue and golden light, like it held a sky within. "Look," the woman said gently. "It will show you who you really are." Terrified, Suraiya stared into the mirror. And what she saw took her breath away. She saw a different world, a realm of floating clouds, glowing trees, and flying fairies. A world of peace and power. It was the fairy realm, and she was its princess. She had been the most powerful fairy of them all. Until one day, she defeated a wicked shadow fairy, known for her power to curse. Furious, the shadowy figure hissed, "You will lose your beauty, and be reborn on Earth, trapped in a body you hate, until you discover your true self again." Tears rolled down Suraiya's cheeks. So that was the truth. But now what? Could she ever break the curse? Could she become the fairy queen she was meant to be? The woman looked into her eyes and said, "To lift the curse, you must pass 3 trials. Each will test your courage, your intelligence, and your magic." Without hesitation, Suraiya nodded. "I'll do it. Whatever it takes." The woman handed her a small glowing pouch. "Inside is your first trial's destination." A golden light burst out and formed a map in midair. "The Silent Forest," Suraiya read aloud. "What is this place?" The woman explained. There, you will lose your voice. You must convince others to trust you, without speaking a word. It terrified her. Suraiya had always been a talker. How could she do this? But she breathed deep. I'm ready. The moment she entered the silent forest, she felt it. A chill. A stillness. Her voice, gone. Vanished. Suddenly, 3 strangers appeared, an old woman, a young man, and a wise elder. They asked, "Who are you?" Suraiya opened her mouth, but no sound came. So, she bent down and wrote in the dirt, "Princess Suraiya." They doubted her. How do we know it's true? She walked up to a dry tree, and with a touch, it turned lush and green. Magic. The young man stared in awe. If you're really a princess, then help us escape. We've been trapped here for years. Suraiya understood, this was her challenge. And though no clear path was visible, she noticed markings on the trees. Following them, she guided the strangers through the forest for 2 long hours, until finally, they stepped into sunlight. Her voice returned with a whisper, "I did it." The mysterious woman appeared once more. "Congratulations, Suraiya," she said with pride. "You've passed your first test." Suraiya smiled, stronger now. "What's next?" "Now," the woman said, handing her a glowing blue crystal, "you must discover your soul's power." Grasping the crystal, Suraiya was pulled into darkness, a strange shadow realm where everyone was a silhouette. And one voice whispered, "If you cannot recognize yourself, you will be lost here forever." Countless shadows moved around her, all identical. But how to find her true self? Then she noticed, one shadow moved before she did. "That one," she cried, rushing forward. The moment she touched it, a burst of light shot through the realm, and she returned to the cave. The woman smiled. "You have passed again. You now know, true identity is the one that moves, even before you act." Now it was time. The final, most difficult trial. "To break your curse," the woman said gravely, "you must discover why it was given to you, and how to undo it." She handed Suraiya a dark magical coin. "Look closely." Suraiya gazed into it, and saw her past unfold. She saw the fairy kingdom, glittering and bright. She stood in the great court, refusing the shadow fairy's offer. "I don't want your darkness," she had said once. "Only light belongs here." The shadow fairy had warned her, real power comes from balance, not just light. "You rejected me," the fairy had said with fury. "So now, you will learn. Through pain." And so she had. Now, Suraiya understood. To lift the curse, she must embrace both sides, light and shadow. She had to return to the fairy realm. "But how?" she asked. "You already have the power," said the woman. "Just feel it." Suraiya closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and then, she vanished. She opened her eyes, and saw home. The fairies gasped. "She's back." Then, darkness. The shadow fairy appeared. "You've returned. So, will you accept my power now?" Suraiya stood tall. "Yes. But, on my terms. I've learned," she said calmly, "that real power lies in balance. Not just light. Not just shadow. But both." The shadow fairy smiled. "Now, you finally understand." And in that moment, a blinding light surged through Suraiya. The curse broke. She transformed into her true form, the dazzling, powerful queen of the fairies. Celebration erupted in the skies. Magic returned. The kingdom rejoiced. But the story wasn't over. Days later, something strange began happening, the fairies' powers began to fade. Suraiya was shocked. "What's happening?" The shadow fairy returned once more. "You brought balance, but didn't maintain it. Too much light, not enough shadow." Now, Suraiya faced her greatest challenge. She looked around, the kingdom was too bright. No rest. No shade. She realized, darkness is not evil. It's rest, it's reflection, it's pause. So, she used her magic, and created night in the fairy realm. For the first time, the fairies slept. And slowly, their magic returned. "You saved us," a fairy whispered. How? Another asked. Suraiya smiled. True strength isn't in perfection. It's in balance. In accepting all parts of ourselves. The shadow fairy nodded, pleased. Now, you are truly a queen. And with that, she faded into the wind. Suraiya had done it. Once mocked for her body, now worshipped for her wisdom, strength, and heart. She had turned a curse into purpose. And the fairies would sing her story forever. A princess cursed for her difference. Who rose to become the greatest queen the fairy realm ever knew. If you enjoyed this magical and empowering story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want your name featured in a custom tale, leave it below. We're watching and waiting to tell your story next. See you soon with more magic.